Will Lee, he is an artist and he is a thinker. He is a joy to be around. And last year we spoke about mental health. The title of that video is Black Boy Joy. So today we're going to get back into some similar topics with another year of perspective and experience to help us try and parse through this issue that is mental health and get to the bottom what is really plaguing not just our communities, but us as a collective. So, thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy our conversation. It's about half an hour long, and we get into everything from mental health in the West to how we engage in our day to day. So, if you have anything cool to add to the conversation, be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you like the video, you should like the video. Thank you for joining the Untitled Podcast. And without further ado, here is Willie Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back with another episode of. Actually, I don't even know what this is called. This might be the Untitled Podcast. Right now, we're just speaking real people, real talks, conversations about different things. And my brother Willie over here, we spoke about a year or so ago. It's been a while, but I feel like it's time to get back into some of these discussions that we were having around mental health, around masculinity, around being a black man in the West, around figuring out who we are. But before we get into all of that, how you been? How's your life? How you been, man?
Man,
It's been a minute. It's good to see you.
hey, likewise, likewise. I could just tell by the communication here, man, non-verbally, the smile on my face to be able to see you, brother, had this conversation as far as the growth that we both experienced, man. It's been a blessing. As you could tell, countless on my face, man. I'm out here shining, striving,
For
staying
real.
alive,
I
and
love to
man.
see it. I love to see it.
Likewise, I see they ain't wiped the smile off your face yet either,
Can't
man.
do it.
So,
Can't do it. Can't do it. I
yes,
had a
sir,
bar
yes,
in one of
sir.
my songs, bro. I said, teeth are free of feelings, so I smile no matter how I'm feeling. And that's how I stay, like up, down, left, right. You gotta stay
Mm.
with that. You gotta stay with that positive outlook because once they cut that off, then you are now participant in your own demise. You have now bought into their narrative, their story, and now you playing it out for them. So I always gotta keep that smile with me, bro. But I guess speaking on that, let's get right into the meat of the matter. Mental health, bro. It's a buzzword today. It's almost trendy to a point where it's lost its meaning, but I feel like it's still something that is important and that real people struggle with. But I don't want to, on one hand, gloss over it to make it seem like it's not important, but I don't want to, on the other hand, make it seem as this boogeyman that is unbeatable. And I wonder if there's a balance here. What has your journey been like in this past year in terms of um identity and mental health and spiritual health and trying to figure out who you are? Because I feel like it's a lifelong journey, but it's good to kind of reflect on these periods and try to see what we've picked up along the way.
Man, a lot of soul searching, pretty much a lot of recollection, a lot of time to myself, a lot of reading, most
Mhm.
definitely just being able to understand the words that I speak and knowing that these words that we do embody create our perception. So it's just being able to understand, over overstand, okay, I have the ability to create what's in front of me, not just by my hands, but by my voice. So it's been a lot of speaking. It's been a lot of recollecting my thoughts and putting them in a fashion where if I say I don't like something, okay, what's the next solution? Should I use my energy? Should I use my words to create that perception? Or should I use my energy, use my words to see what I believe that I should be seeing? Many people, when we talk about mental health, you talk about your mind being able to function healthily. You think about growth. How can you grow within the words that you communicate? And it's like, I really sat down and thought about that from the time when I was dealing with what I was going through mentally. I'm like, okay, if I'm speaking about it differently, I can communicate on this subject matter and have a different type of perception depending on how I see things, given the way that I speak about
You create like this is we can go in so many different directions with that. It's a lot because one of the things that you said just now that I want to pick up on before I forget it is this idea of um, using our words, but also through creation, through fashion, in a way, like using that as a vehicle. And I've been doing a lot of Yeezy caping lately. One of the things that I've seen is his ideas around fashion are not solely around clothing. And this is like a mini epiphany for me. Is the word fashion literally means to form, to formulate, to create. And then a fashion is like a way of doing something, a manner
Mhm.
of doing something, like the fashion of the day. And so when you take those two kind of definitions to form something, to fashion something, and then to take the manner of a day, you get something that's really close to culture and creating that. And so it's something that I think has a lot deeper meaning than I have previously given it credit for. And that's why at the beginning of our conversation before I hit record, I think I've not given enough due to the entertainment side of communication. It's always been for me like hard information, trying to get the facts and what is real, what is not. But there's an entertainment side which is more about the social aspect, the engagement aspect. And I don't know if I've been just leaving that out of my health journey and trying to effectively heal on my own. And what that is almost like an oxymoron to heal on your own because you like we're built for community. So in a weird way, I feel like it's like you're you're cutting your nose to spite your face or whatever they say, where you're not actually, moving forward. You feel like you might be taking a few steps forward, but ultimately you keep falling back. And so I think there's just yeah, using our words and our realities to form something new and to create something better for the future. I feel like that's what gives me hope. And I guess as a follow-up question too, when you're thinking about or when you're talking about how you approach maybe on a day-to-day level, what is your mindset when something isn't going according to plan and you're like, yo, I've got to, is it like I double down and push through, or is it like throw the hands up, I'm good for now, let's reconvene tomorrow? Is it, smile through the pain, or is it let it out? Is like how do you kind of figure out how to do things in different times? Because I feel like I'm still trying to learn how to be human, bro.
Man, and that's a heavy hit question right there because you really got to break it down. And I'm gonna metaphorically describe it through working with machineries. You,
Okay.
you know, as far as being in a field where I make custom gear work and I deal with machines. Say that there's a problem. First I have to troubleshoot. Hold on, what's not working? Why isn't the graphic coming up? Is there something with the program or is this something with the image? So just being able to identify what the root of the problem is within the machinery, or am I the one causing that interaction where I didn't upload something correctly? Or in all honesty, you just got to be patient. Many things don't work in your time, and I'm starting to really learn that. And that's really where some of my frustration comes in, where things aren't looking right because it just isn't time. There's a process with growth where when you put something in the ground, you you expect for it to be immediate. You know, in all honesty, when you put a seed in the ground, you want to see it grow. And for it to not be growing, you'd be like, hold on, is something wrong? What's going
Yeah,
on? It's not showing how I want it to show. Well, let's be patient. Let's,
yeah.
see
You gotta let God
with the
work. You
time.
put the seed in the
Exactly.
ground, you gotta till it, and then you let God work.
Most
You know?
definitely. And then once you till it, are you watering it enough? Are you feel me? Are you giving it the nourishment from the land? Hey, is somebody spraying pesticides on your,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
garden? You feel me?
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
all
yeah.
those factors go into play where when there is a problem, I sit back and say, what's going on? Is it the inputs that I'm providing, or is it the structure or the machines around me that are not operating to capacity? Does something need to be updated? So it's literally I take that route and becoming an observer when there's a problem. And yeah, as we're young and I'm dealing with children, I got children of my own to say, hey, whatever they want it right now, right here. You can't tell them no other thing. And it's like, if they don't get it, they don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't know how to deal with their behavior. And thing that I love about kids, they gonna tell you straight up how they feel. And I feel as though us as adults, we lost that ability to tell people how we really feel. And that's
Oh,
really
don't
our
put me in
power.
that category, bro. You as adults. I ain't grow up yet. I'm holding on to their life.
Man, but you got to be able to speak it though. You got to be able to tell it,
Yeah,
hey, I'm mad, I'm
that's
sad, I'm
why.
happy.
You
Yeah.
know what? You see, you hit on something because there's something that I've been wanting to do for so long, and that is grow up. And the thing about growing up is that you have to, once you pass that chasm, once you pass that, it's like stepping over that mantle into a new you, whatever. And I might mess up as I'm explaining it, but I'm thinking in real time, so bear with me. Whatever things were behind you now inform the next iteration of you.
Mm,
Your past is effectively like your own story about yourself that informs your future. And the thing about growth is that if you don't have the right pieces informing the past, then the future is going to be built on faulty foundation. And so I'm very, very wary of taking that next step without knowing for a 100% fact that everything that I'm building on is true. And because there's been enough rug pulls in my own time where I've seen things that were seemed real, but they weren't. So it's almost like I want to interrogate the reality that I think I'm in right now and try and be as bombastic as possible and try and get away from folks. Like it's like ultimately, I feel like you put you put out almost it's almost like you're spraying in all directions and you're trying to see who's gonna stand up and who's gonna sit down and like figure out what's real and what's not. And ultimately, it's like it's a tough period to be in because you know in your heart of hearts that there are some things that you are saying that maybe aren't 100% right, but you also know there's some things that you're saying that are 100% right. And it's like you're almost exploring like when children are growing up, part of their learning process is in gameplay. As they play games, they
hmm
learn the roles that they want to embody as older people. And if you didn't have that opportunity, then it's almost like your play in adulthood becomes some sort of either sadistic self-harm thing or becomes like a thing where you're now lashing out on other people. But you have to heal that. You have to find some sort of um I don't know, oneness with that inner child in a way that's healthy, or else you get things like what we have today with people completely confused in their sexuality, completely confused in who they are as a person, completely misdirected in all sorts of facets of life. And it's like, yo, we just got to get back to basics, man. And so I
hmm
think that's what I'm trying to go through right now. I'm still in the process. I'm not a perfect product by any means, not even close. But it's beautiful to talk
No,
to
no
people who
man
are
on this
also
earth
on
is
that
perfect.
path. Yeah,
Yes,
man. Yeah.
and
So
just
how
to
has it
be able
been
to,
being a black? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
my bad. I was just gonna build on what you were saying about the whole
Oh,
identity and where it's like these emotions that we experience is not our identity. You can't identify as an emotion because we experience multiple emotions. To say that you have multiple identities is ultimately saying that you're necessarily multiple people or multiple entities, which in all fairness, how can someone think straight if they have multiple entities?
house divided
Or
against itself cannot stand.
come on, man, come on.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I experienced that. I'm growing from that. And being able to say one of my tools that I use is communication, elaborately,
Mm, yeah.
various
I
forms,
love it.
art,
Yeah.
poetry,
Yeah.
videography,
Yeah.
what we're doing right now, podcast,
Yeah.
quotation
Yeah.
marks. So yeah,
You get it. You
we
get it.
hitting,
You
we
get
hitting.
it. Yes. Because that's it, man. And I love that idea of the because when I got diagnosed, bro, I was always thinking about this. It's like, how can I be multiple people? And you play around with that idea a little bit. And it's like you see the movies and you see things like, but I think that there's ultimately it's like it's not really this is what the word integrity comes from. When we think about the word, when you think about somebody with integrity, you think about somebody who is upstanding, who is the same person everywhere. They have a certain wholeness about them, a certain approachableness, but still like, they mean what they say in all situations. And it comes from the word integer, which is the root word for essentially the word that we use for numbers, whole numbers. You have the
hmm
decimals and you got the integers. So for somebody to have integrity is to be like a whole, integrated being where all of the seemingly disparate parts are now cohesively brought together in one person that is before you. And I think the process of growing up and figuring out who we are is taking all of those disparate parts. So like the gameplay when we were kids and the trying on different masks of identity as we're growing up and the trying out this and that as we, like all the relationships and the parents and the families and all these things, and then we try to integrate them. And I think Walt Whitman, the poet, said something like, "I contain multitudes" or something like that, and it's a famous quote. But essentially, he was getting to this point. It's like, yeah, I know that I am large. I am not a a simple, widget that you can just say this is this person. End of story. I contain multitudes. Yeah, sometimes I am like that, but sometimes I'm like this. Sometimes I am, a dickhead, but sometimes I'm a hopeless romantic. Sometimes I am a what? It's like there's so many things that comprise a person that to reduce them to, in my opinion, to reduce that thing to code or ones and zeros is to be reductive ultimately, and we don't really know a person if we think that we do in that way.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, these tools are tools that can be informative. And when I say these tools, I'm talking about like right now we're talking through technology, right? We're on different sides of the planet, but we're able to communicate. I'm thinking of tools that are coming about like AI, like different machine learning algorithms that now tap into things that we're doing on a different level where you can create original music or you can have a personalized tutor or you can like all of these things that can potentially be good, but obviously they could potentially have drawbacks too. I literally just finished watching a movie called Her, and it was about this dude who falls in love with his like computer, bro. And it was so dystopian, but at the same time, it almost felt like weirdly real for the day that we're in. This movie was made maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, and so I'm like, wow, they were really ahead of the curve in terms of this dude who's like he got out of a relationship. His ex-wife and him had a, and he was just in this place where he was emotionally, um, I don't know, he was open, or not maybe open isn't the right word, but he was I don't want to say naive either, but it almost felt like he was just it's like when somebody's about to be attacked and they don't know it. You're just open for attack.
It's a
And there
system
was this thing,
or
yes. And there's like this OS operating system comes into his life and says, I can fix all your problems. And at first he's skeptical, but then it starts fixing all his problems. It goes through like his backlog of a decade of writings where he was like, man, I've been wanting to publish this for a while. It's like, oh, these 86 are probably really good. I'll put them together and send them off to this publisher. And in a week, he has a publishing deal. That's a real life thing from this thing. And now all of a sudden, he's fallen in love with this computer and he can't even conceive of the fact that this isn't a real person. At first, this is all he could think of. Yeah, of course it's code. By the end of it, it's like you're emotionally tied to this weird system. And I'm trying to think of like, is this an exploit? Is this like a hack in our own psyche in our brain? Like, is it if human beings are no longer good enough for us, we just resort to the fake thing because we don't have to deal with all of the baggage that comes with a real human being? And I'm
Mm,
just trying to think of like, I guess this is getting a little bit off the beaten path, but tied in with mental health because we talked a little bit about the past, we talked a little bit about how we are now. Where do you see the future of mental health going, bro? Because I'm thinking about things like there's a tool called Better Health where they just like give like it's like therapy, but it's all like machine learning. It's like GPT something that you're talking to a robot. And I think it's interesting, but I think it could be dangerous. And I think that maybe just you as somebody who has worked in that space before, is there something that you think is, I don't know, maybe you could talk about the good and the bad. What do you think about that, bro? Because I think about things like prayer, spiritual health. Where's that going to go? Are people still going to pray, or are they just going to go to their app? You know?
man, and that's a scary thing to say that human
Yeah.
interaction is becoming far and less common. And when you really think about it, how did we get here? how do we get to
Yeah.
this point as having a
Yeah.
population? We interact with one another. And that's why I feel like majority of the disconnect stems from where people have these health crises is because they lack that natural interaction. You know, when you talk about pretty much they're trying to analyze us with ones and zeros and codes. Okay, well, analyze the real based off of having an experience of emotions and knowing how to deal with that. In all honesty, does a robot know how to deal with frustration, anger, sadness, happiness,
Yeah.
excitement? And for you to rely on technology to tell you how to cope with something that may have you feeling some type of way takes away that genuineness because they're not going based off of a robot doesn't experience life. They're made to duplicate whatever it is the code programmed to do. And so
Mhm.
is it really genuine at that point? Is it really somebody saying, hey, I've dealt with this. I know how to get through it. Here's my experience. Here's pretty much what you will go through. And then, hey, I have a testimony. Pretty much
Because that's
you're
what
gonna
it
get
is.
testimonies from robots that haven't experienced life. So the
And
the fact of the
let
matter
me,
is you're being told a lot.
yeah, yeah. But it's crazy because now that you even said that, it's because when we're trying to, when we want to feel better or like get help from somebody, what we really want is to be understood and to almost contextualize our story into a bigger story that makes sense. And what another person helps you do is to help you feel like you're not alone. They give you a
Mhm.
point of reference to say, no, I get why you're feeling. I've been there too. That's why music is powerful, right? That's why relationships are powerful. It gives you a
Mhm.
sense of I'm not by myself. The thing about robots is that they don't have real experiences. Their experiences are the summation of a bunch of lines of code. And so there's no real time, there's no real story, there's no real quote unquote testimony. Really, it's just a probabilistic word after word predictive text generating model. That's all it is. And at the end of the day, when we try to human beings are very, very good at anthropomorphizing things. We're very good at projecting our humanity onto things that have no real humanity. And you see it even from the old times of Stone Ages where we take rocks and put faces on them and call them babies or something. Like people are willing to say this is a human being, even though it's not. And when we get so close that it's almost indistinguishable, then we're getting very dangerous because now you can't laugh it off and say, stop it. Now you got people that are really out here completely enthralled in a world within a decade. You're gonna have people living completely inside like Vision Pros and
The
whatever,
Oculus metaverse.
bro. The metaverse and all of that. It's gonna be real wild. But I'm just thinking about what the spirit is gonna do with like how are we gonna rebound from that because the spirit is what's real and everything else is an extrapolation. So each layer down, like this metaverse thing, is just another layer stripped from the original spirit. And we're getting further away from our true selves, but we're, I guess, doing it in search of reality.
Mm.
I don't really know. Obviously, I don't have the scope right now to see where all of the things end, but the way that I see it, it seems to me that we need to have a real conversation with ourselves as a species collectively before we enter into any sort of relationship with technology that could easily become abusive and anti-human if we aren't in a position to actually advocate for ourselves and to recognize our both the great things about being human and some of the drawbacks of our condition. We have to be honest with ourselves and we need to interrogate ourselves, figure out what it is that we really are, who we want to be. And I guess
Mm.
we can come in for a landing here because Zoom is trying to kick me out in 3 minutes. But I did want to talk to you about where we are from and where we're going to, because I think that's some of the biggest questions that we have today in terms of figuring out where our health is. At least for me, I always think of health as that right mind, that right mindedness. And that usually comes from being correctly oriented on some sort of journey. If you're on a path towards something and you believe in where you're going, things can be crazy all around you, but it's, kind of like how it says in Psalms, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. You fear no evil because you know that he's with you because you're in the right place. And I guess part of that last question, right, is how do you figure out, yeah, this is where I'm at, and maybe it's not everything, but it's not where I was last week, or it's not where I was last year, it's not where I was last decade, and now this is where I want to go to. It's like, how do you form that story for yourself to create a narrative that you find yourself now? I am oriented in the correct story, moving towards health, even if I'm not feeling great every day. I still, I'm aware of my growing sense of humanity, if you will.
All I got to do is share the scripture with you, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
Mm.
Trust not in thine own understanding. Lean unto the Most High. Hey, walk after in accordance, and he shall direct our paths. And just knowing that, honesty, just trying to find my way righteously to be able to say, I'm someone that I want to be known as positive. I'm someone that wants to do something great. In order to do that, identifying where I came from. I came from greatness. I'm speaking right now. I got a mind right now. I got two eyes. This is something that's great about us. We should all be able to acknowledge that we are great creations. Okay, so where are we going? And just to be able to stay on that path as far as getting direction. Many people look at God, the Most High, whatever name you want to put on it, is this invisible being that doesn't really have any say on what we experience in this life. But as soon as you open your eyes and look around and knowing that there are things put in this life that direct you to make certain choices in your life, and depending on your mental state, on whatever you act upon, is the given behavior or model that you entrust yourself to do, because we all have some sort of free will. But to say, you know, whatever it is that you optimally perform after is where you're going to go.
So that I feel that you go with the flow, and sometimes we gotta make the flow. Um, you gotta dig those ditches so that the river's going where it needs to go, so that we can feed the next generation, so we can start watering these seeds. Willie, my brother, we about to get out of here in about 10 seconds if it takes me out, but I want to say much love to you. Thank you for taking the time today. We definitely got to do this again. Black Boy Joy Part Two. Make sure you share it with a friend, like and comment, all that good stuff.
So
And yeah, until next time.
peace, peace.
All right, and that was my interview with Willie Arts. Appreciate you, bro. Always a blessing to have you on. And yeah, your spirit is definitely one that needs to be appreciated. So we're gonna keep having these conversations, and hopefully people will start to understand soon. In the meantime, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff for the YouTube metrics, so that your friends can find this uh, amazing low production video. I'm gonna get better soon, I promise. It's just the incentives are misaligned right now. What am I trying to get big for? To get more numbers? But what are the numbers for? I don't even know if I'm right. It's like I'm still trying to find truth. And my hope was that people would join me in this effort and we could collaborate towards what reality is. But it seems like nobody else knows what they're doing either. So they'd rather just watch and laugh, or criticize, or denigrate. But you already know, I got an unbeatable spirit. Who's it that said, in the midst of winter, I found within me an indomitable summer? Something like that. Yeah, that's me. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep flowing. New music on the way soon, too. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Looks like I need to get up. My watch is telling me. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.